Welcome to Superhero Spectating with Harold and Hassan. We're a fan based podcast with two non experts exploring superheroes. As always, we're happy to have you along for some theories and fun. Welcome to the episode. Heroes, Harold and Hassan. Heroes, Harold and Hassan. Heroes, Harold and Hassan. Heroes, Harold and Hassan. So, fans, if you're listening, and if you've been listening this far, you know that very few of my. Actually, no. A handful of my theories were correct, but none of the ones related to plot were exactly what I thought this would be. This is your maddeningly quick review of the Multiverse of Madness. Harold, you want to jump in first?
Dang, actually, can you lead, man? Because this is a tough one for me, man. I need to slow down with my thoughts real quick.
That's fair. Okay, so
Especially since you're so fresh off of it. To give
yeah,
you guys some background, I got to see it on the premiere on Thursday. We're recording this episode on Saturday,
and
which
I just
the
saw
sun
it
got the
like,
time.
yeah, 3, 2? No. I walked out of the theater like 4 hours ago. So it is still pretty fresh on my mind. So I may not have the information that I usually would in a breakdown or in a review, but all in all, I think this was a good movie. If I were to rate it on a scale, I think I'd say that it was 7.9, maybe. If we're referencing our tier system, would say that it's tier 2. I don't think it's a popcorn movie. I don't think that it's necessarily tier 1, and I was expecting Sam Raimi to come back with the tier 1 movie, but I think he came back with something okay. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't Infinity War, and I think part of the problem that a couple folks have stated is that Marvel set a precedent for themselves, but I think that they did that with drama, and with this next phase setting up obscure characters in the Young Avengers, I think the tone had to change. And I think that this movie was right up that alley. It did have elements of horror, but some of the story it wasn't as um, trippy or solemn or menacing as I expected it to be, but I want to be fair to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It wasn't ever supposed to live up to my expectations. And I think that a lot of fans, if they're comic book readers or if I don't know if they've been following Marvel up till now and then saw the trailers and saw all of the advertising might have actually helped with that too, but all in all, still good. I think, as my brother put it, it was a good world building movie, but I don't necessarily think that it was for Doctor Strange. They made you empathize with a character that I feel wasn't as likable at first, and I think they did a better job with making him a little less likable than Tony when we got him, because Tony from the comics, he's he's a bit of an a-hole. And Marvel does a good job, even with their villains, and I think they did this with Wanda too, of having you empathize with the characters. But yeah, no, I think the title leads you to believe that it could be a lot bigger of a story than it is. But as contained as it was, I still think it's good, and I think that leading into the next installment of the series, it was fine. It's just it depends on what type of fan you are. If you're going in there for a family friendly movie, if you're going in there for a good time, if you're going in there for a laugh, if you're going in there to see something Sam Raimi produced after walking away from Spider-Man 3, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. If you're interested in quick references, I think you have to be really good about reading through encyclopedias or knowing comics, because some of those scenes went by, and because I haven't had time to prep, I couldn't tell you exactly what we saw. But I'm sure that these breakdown videos are going to be coming out soon. I'm excited to see this in Blu-ray. I'm excited to watch it again. And I'm happy for Benedict. I'm happy for Miss Olsen. And I cannot remember this young actress's name, but America Chavez, she also did well. I'm excited to see what happens next. Harold?
I guess I'd like to start by referring to our tiers. So I think I would put it in tier two. I think I would agree with you. My expectations. I think my expectations after, of course, having watched the first Doctor Strange and Infinity War and Endgame and being a fan of Doctor Strange, and after watching the trailer at the end of the No Way Home, my expectations led me to believe that it could be a tier one movie.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
But getting closer to the date, like I had jumped ship. I had jumped ship. And like you could be there as a witness. You were there as a witness to that. Like I told you that I just have this feeling, especially after how I felt about Moon Knight and Thor, that I started to get a bad feeling about the movie. Given the background of also how I felt about WandaVision, I really started to think about those things, and it already created the bias walking into the movie that I feel I had doubts going in. And even walking out, I still think it's a tier two movie. I think it's a good movie. I don't think I walked out of there feeling it was a bad movie. Like there are definitely parts in the movie I enjoyed. I didn't know anything about America Chavez going in, and I happened to like the character more than I thought I would. Hassan had caught that. He's all like, you know what, he said, you're gonna like Wanda and America Chavez walking out of there. And I'll tell you this much, he was 50% right on that. So yeah, I liked America Chavez. I liked her relationship with Doctor Strange. And I didn't mind her character as much as I thought I would. And she did an okay job. It wasn't phenomenal. There was definitely, I think, better standout performances. But she did an okay job, and I'm curious to see what they do next. Her power is cool.
Yeah. No, I think she's going to be a very, very fine addition to the Young Avengers.
Yeah, I agree. I also enjoyed watching the Scarlet Witch use her powers, you know?
Yeah.
I feel that she had an appropriate power level. She felt really strong when she attacked Doctor Strange and Wong with all those other sorcerers.
Katmandaj.
I forgot what sanctuary they were at the time.
I think that's the name of it. They reference it in a few movies. I may be mispronouncing it, but I believe the name of the sanctum or sanctuary is Katmandaj.
Okay. Yeah, I enjoyed watching the assault. And I like the trap that they had for Wanda with Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
That gave me a lot of that's like signature Doctor Strange sequence, I want to say.
Yeah.
So it was nice seeing that. I like that touch. Yeah, I liked Wanda's powers, you know. I liked how later in the movie when she fights the Illuminati, like she takes care of them. I enjoyed watching her take care of them, different ways she went about it.
Yeah.
As far as plot, I have other feelings about that, but as far as her powers, like that was cool, you know, that was cool to watch.
Yeah, while we're on that note, I think I'd like to say that it's been really interesting to see her progress as an enhanced slash mutant individual. I feel like when we've been watching Wanda evolve as a character, regardless of which direction she's been going in, for over a decade. Because we got her in Avengers Age of Ultron. And it's amazing to see not just the scale that they're using her in, but how much her abilities have evolved as well. Because I don't even think in WandaVision, even though we saw her manifest an entire town and she acknowledged how strong her chaos magic was, I don't think we saw the scale of it in the same capacity. And I think that both Doctor Strange and the Scarlet Witch showed a lot more to the fans just how powerful they'd become. And that was really cool to me. It was really important to see that growth, even though they were happening in quick scenes or back to back fights. Like her using reflections to move her body through different parts of time and space. And I don't, yeah, no, she was so well used as a villain and as a powerful character. I I personally feel.
I would say I like the beginning and the pace that the movie began with. I like that we started with another universe and we're on a mission already with another Doctor Strange and America Chavez. And it leads into the story. It almost it gave me vibes of Infinity War and the urgency to the story
Hmm.
and moving the story in a exciting way. I want to say, like,
Yeah.
I was already excited from the jump. Even having my doubts from the movie, I was into the start already.
I think they
And
did that
they
for fans that were worried about the time cap of the movie. I think they wanted people to trust, oh hey, we're starting off at a good pace and this movie is going to stay decently consistent throughout, or at least that was my take.
the movie was going great. I remember going over to my brother's shoulder and telling him like, "Yo, like I like this. This is cool." It starts with the fight. There's a moment when Doctor Strange is at the wedding and he sees something going out in the city, and it hit me like I was watching Spider-Man 2 or something.
Mm,
Watching Spider Like it hit me like a Raimi superhero movie. That was definitely a Raimi superhero moment that I feel Marvel doesn't necessarily feel do well at capturing. Like I really
that's interesting.
felt the nature of a hero living his normal life and something happening and he having to attend to that.
Yeah, that's fair. That was an excellent
So,
shot.
pardon me?
I was just saying that was an excellent shot. I also think
Yeah.
you're right. Sam Raimi directing this movie, I think, helped to humanize Doctor Strange because at the beginning of the movie, we hear a quote that I think he rang in No Way Home, which was, in the grand calculus of the multiverse, your sacrifice is worth more lives than your loss, or something of the sort. And in the juxtaposition of that scene and the very next, where America Chavez is thrown into what is now confirmed to be Earth 616, I think we got a Stephen Strange post No Way Home, post Avengers Infinity War, post Avengers Endgame, and all the other events that have transpired lately, who's very much so sitting with the idea that, he's alone and that he's had a lot of loss, but he's also capable of feeling, you know, happy for Christine. Sorry, that is her name, isn't it? Yeah, Dr. Christine, moving on with her life and also still being able to acknowledge, hey, I love you. I love you in every universe. I always will. I think that was nice because it was a little, I think, truthfully speaking, now that it's been months since, jarring for me to hear him kind of not shed a tear but choke up in No Way Home when he was talking about sending Spider-Man off and saying we would all forget you, or rather Peter Parker, because I remembered him in that moment being much more calculated, especially since before he had been strung over the Grand Canyon, he had been talking to Peter from the same point of view. But then I realized, oh yeah, you were trapped with this guy for 5 years, and before everyone was dusted and you guys were trapped for those 5 years, you also worked with him in space to defeat Thanos. You've also seen 14 billion timelines that Spider-Man is likely in. I think it brought it back for me as a fan that Doctor Strange isn't just a sorcerer and he's not this inhuman, uh, calculated character that we got at the beginning of his movie. He's grown.
I do agree with you that there is some good stuff like Doctor Strange is the last character that I've gotten to bring up, and before I even get into what you were talking about as far as his character development, I just want to put out there like I like Doctor Strange, man. Like I realize even after the movie, regardless of how I feel about the movie, I really like his character still, and I'd be excited to just see his character in either another movie or in other movies or other properties, really, because I do like his character, and I like his character so much. Sometimes I will probably loosen how I feel about the plot because I like the character so much, you know. But I do agree with you. There were some good parts about his choice, you know, and how all these Doctor Stranges had a life-changing choice to make. I'll just leave it at that because for all we know, there still could be choices throughout their lives that could be life-changing. Yeah. But it seemed like they had one that was kind of similar to one another, you know. I feel there was a better Doctor Strange movie with that concept in there, and I think it was overshadowed by the story that Wanda was telling. Because even from the beginning of the movie, I really liked the church scene with his pal from the hospital again, or his acquaintance. I'll say acquaintance. I wouldn't say pal. His acquaintance from the hospital, and he was telling them how he lost, I think,
two
a
cats
pet.
and his brother. Yeah.
And his brother, and he said like who are you to decide that for the entire universe that was the best outcome, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel they did use that, but I feel we could have found out more. Like how even he copes knowing that he sent Tony Stark to his death, you know? Like even connecting it back to No Way Home, there could have been a connection there that the reason why he even helped Peter in the first place because he knew what Spider-Man meant to Tony Stark, you know? Like I just feel there was more we could have discovered in there within his story and his even connection to America Chavez, that things she could have taught him through that as much as he's teaching her, that I would have rather explored than pretty much what it feels like for me with the movie is the second season of WandaVision also incorporated in this movie.
Okay, I hear you, but I feel like even though I think they kind of teased it at the end, they needed to have a well-developed villain. And walking into this movie on Mother's Day weekend, I honestly thought initially that Wanda was just a mother that was still grieving, that wanted to find a reality where she could peacefully live with her children. And you're right, not all of the decisions that she made to secure that reality were made logically. I feel like Wanda and other users of the Darkhold, I feel like they lost a bit of themselves in it because she became a protect my reality and my desires by whatever means necessary type of character. And there's always room for failure with that mentality. And again, to see her grow and evolve as a character within the Marvel Cinematic Universe and become a reluctant hero and then a reluctant villain and then potentially die a hero. I felt, I don't know, she definitely played her part well. It's definitely not the end of her, especially if we're supposed to see her in Children's Crusade, especially if I'll get to that later. I don't know, man. There was so much.
Look, she did a phenomenal job acting wise. Like Elizabeth Olsen killed the character that was written.
Mm-hmm.
But my gripes are with how the character was written, not her performance, because her performance was outstanding. She was menacing, she was evil, yet like and cynical. Like she
Yeah,
did a
she
good
was an
job.
immovable
She did a really
object,
good job.
and she wasn't emotionally withdrawn. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like she sold me on that character that they wrote. My problem is at times I felt that the movie and the show didn't connect. Like almost like the movie I wouldn't say retcon the show, but it I think it dropped on some of the themes of the show. It's not that I like the show, but there are certain themes within that show that I feel didn't incorporate themselves in the movie. But even regardless of that, I didn't want to see it anyway because I didn't want this Wanda story. But since we're on it, I will talk about it. She just, to me, she made moms look so bad. She made moms look horrible, bro. She made moms look really bad. And I'm all like,
Depends on the perspective. I mean, doing anything and everything for your children, I don't know that
yeah.
a mom is gonna look at that and say, "I disagree." You know, like Mama Bear, right?
The thing is, there were so many. It's so hard to rationalize Wanda when there's so many logical voices around her.
Mm,
Like, especially when you consider, like, yeah, her kids weren't real. You know, when they approached her, like, okay, you're gonna take kids from another dimension. Like, what happens to the one? She had no answer for that. Like,
mm.
it just looked bad. It was bad. I couldn't connect with it, you know? I just one I couldn't connect with it, and one I think I wished it would have been resolved sooner, you know? If we had gotten to the resolve with Wanda sooner and there was another thread in the movie that we can then once again be in a place with the redeemed Wanda, like I personally felt happy for the character when Doctor Strange walked up to her and she said she had given up magic. In that moment, I had thought, wow, like she really healed during that time. Like I felt really, really good for her. And I was
Yeah,
just like, all right, like I like this direction. Like she dropped magic, she's really good. I thought there was gonna be a worse evil and Doctor Strange approaching her about magic would have her go back into a place that she had already
interesting,
grown from, and this greater evil was going to abuse that, and we were going to get Scarlet Witch, you know.
for sure.
But instead, she was already the villain, and so it just took me back. I'm all like, okay, so this, like in that scene alone, I had all those emotions already going on. I'm all like, okay, like she's gonna help them, you know, because that's true to the character that I know. Even in WandaVision, I never felt that she really wanted to do that to those people. As bad as I felt that she needed to be reprimanded for what she did, I never felt she did it. But you still need to take accountability for your actions, you know.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's fair.
And the fact that Doctor Strange went up to her and said, I'm not here about Westview, is the reason why she's the problem in the movie. It's because nobody reprimanded her then. When I was screaming that Monica Rambeau was there the whole time to stop her then, before she even read the Darkhold.
Yeah,
What I also have a problem with is there's so much WandaVision incorporated in the show, and the title of the movie is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So I guess I just wanted more Multiverse of Madness and less of WandaVision. But speaking of WandaVision, the show is called WandaVision, and not one time does she even ask about Vision, which I find crazy because she uses it as a point of argument like, well, I had to kill Vision and nobody cared. Well, you didn't even care to look for Vision. And even in the other universes you bounced in, you didn't even look for the dude.
yeah. No, the fact that White Vision is still out there somewhere in Earth 616, if not another universe, I thought that was a really interesting point.
I was all like, it's inconsistent to even the character in WandaVision. She cared about the kids and Vision, and in this movie, she didn't care about Vision. That's what I mean by some of the concepts in the show not being incorporated in the movie.
Yeah, no, I hear your point, man. I think WandaVision was an opportunity for the Marvel Cinematic Universe to retcon enhanced beings and introduce mutants in the capacity that they should have initially. I was explaining to my brother while we were getting snacks in line waiting for the movie to start that Agatha exploring Wanda's abilities in WandaVision essentially stated that she had a latent mutant X gene that was triggered by her contact with the Infinity Stones. And it was a soul stone, correct? The soul stone, oh no, not just a soul stone. The soul stone that was used to give birth to Vision, and the time stone that was used to well, it was used to do a lot. Jump through time and space. I think triggered her mutant X gene in a way where it then established chaos magic within the MCU. And I'm happy to finally see Scarlet Witch in live action because I feel like even in the X-Men universe in live action, when we saw Pietro and what's his name, Evans interpretation of him, I feel like we saw Evans and it has to be clear that his sister was Wanda, but they didn't even explore that then. I felt like there was a lot of missed opportunities, but for the first time we're seeing Wanda explored as the Scarlet Witch in live action, but I feel like there's a giant plot hole. How is it that lost to some battle or to some team and sent the Elder Chthon as the first demon in Earth 616 to then pay homage to her because she knew that somewhere across the multiverse she would somehow, you know, uh, but they haven't explored that enough. And I mean, if any of these rumors that she's going to get like another 3 movies are true, and there's supposed to be the Children's Crusade, I feel like there's definitely a lot of room for them to think about that. But I feel like Wanda is a really powerful character, and we saw just how powerful she is in this movie. But I feel like you had time to sit with how to write in her lore, and you didn't necessarily do it as well in season 1 of WandaVision as you could have. She's the only show not getting another season, but she's getting movie deals. And other versions of these characters are getting movie deals, but okay, you bring her back for a movie. You don't reprimand her for her wrongdoings. She has to do that herself. But if she's all powerful, who's going to stop her unless they're all powerful as well? And then you set her up for another few movies and you still don't explain why it is that her presence has been on Earth longer than any Sorcerer Supreme and she's been known to be a myth. Why is it that the Sorcerer Supreme who died in Doctor Strange 1 didn't warn Stephen about these possibilities, or why was it in none of the books that he studied? You know, it's just some of it was a reach, and I think that there were conveniences like the watch that Dr. Christine Palmer had in the movie just
Yep.
coincidentally for
Yep.
the key.
That
And
was so convenient, bro. Bro, the scene where they see the flashbacks when America Chavez and him go into that other multiverse and they see like even America Chavez's background, like it was just so convenient that there was a machine that can trigger memories, you know?
Mm. Yeah, because in my mind, I thought they could have used that scene where she accidentally sent her parents away. They could have used that scene as the beginning of the movie and then had her progressively age as she was jumping through all these realities that she's been to up until she's running away from these threats and then looking for the Book of Shanti and then is thrust into the MCU. That could have been a large opening scene explaining what her place is in the multiverse, and they could have used that as a mystery. And then when we saw that scene, we would have felt a bit more emotionally connected to her again. I don't know. I feel like as contained as it was, there were a lot of opportunities for them to explore more of the lore of these characters, but it wasn't their movie. It was Doctor Strange's. But for it being Doctor Strange's movie, they only explored his humanity. I felt like they showed us him being a great sorcerer, but he didn't even get to become Sorcerer Supreme after all this time.
And I don't think he will. I think Wong will remain with the title for a while,
Mm,
but I don't think the title matters too much because when a situation occurs, even Wanda was approaching the sanctuary, and Doctor Strange went on behalf of everyone still. So
that's true.
I think I'm okay with Doctor Strange not being the Sorcerer Supreme. Collided, but in the movie it's called Multiverse of Madness, and we only really visit two. You know, we have that sequence when they're jumping through it, but we didn't explore any of those multiverses. And I
Yeah,
understand that it's the beginning of
movie
the multi.
three.
It's showing us that the multiverse was there, but we were already shown the first Doctor Strange, and we've already been shown in Loki that the multiverse does exist. So
Hmm.
I don't think I need another introduction to it. Just take me there already, you know?
Okay,
And that's why I like Spider-Man No Way Home, because they brought those characters and they went for it, you know?
but they brought them in. It's not like they sent ours anywhere else. I'd be much more
True,
interested.
but I can even say that Spider-Man was already an introduction with the crack in the universe up above. We saw the like we've had introductions to the multiverse already. I didn't need another one.
But I felt like
I
they were more
wanted
so
to be in it
teases.
already.
You know what I'm saying?
Pardon me?
I felt like they were more so teases. Like in No Way Home, they
I
showed that
still
the
feel teased. I still feel teased.
but we actually saw them step. They crossed the threshold in everything that we've seen so far, with the exception of Loki actually jumping into a few different spaces, and like you pointed out in the past, actually not that many. We actually saw them pass the threshold, and now that he has the Eye of Agamotto, or the All-Seeing Eye, and we saw him meet Clea, who I think is Dormammu's daughter, and in the comics, one of his future wives. I feel like there's a bridge for there to be more done with it in future movies. But yeah, it really just was a segue movie. It wasn't particularly a grave milestone. Like
I feel we could have gotten more if we didn't get the Wanda content. Movie.
installment.
He could have. The book is possessing Wanda, and it never feels that way. It always feels like it's just coming from Wanda. You know, the book is supposed to be possessing the user, and that's why I feel there was another actual person or villain that I can hold on to that I know is possessing Wanda. It would have helped the connection for me. You know, there were a lot of just there were too many items we were chasing. We were chasing books the whole movie. You know, aside from chasing just America Chavez, everybody's chasing America Chavez, which I didn't mind, so long as we got to go to different multiverses and chase her in different
Yeah,
universes
no, they
instead of
passed through so
universes that
many.
were so similar.
I thought they were
And
gonna
then
pass through and see different characters and see different
yeah,
stories.
we see the Illuminati, and although it was cool seeing them, although it was cool seeing Wanda use her powers on them, I felt like we got Deadpool 2. The thing is, when I got the X Force dying in Deadpool 2, it was hilarious. When I saw every single one of the Illuminati die
Yeah, these are supposed to be
in
key
such a short
characters.
period of time, and none of them were part of the resolve at the end, I felt robbed of even finding out more about those characters.
Yeah, I felt like it was a real fan cast opportunity. Like everyone that had been asking for these for different variants of these Illuminati members to pop up. It was like, all right, cool, we actually got them. But it does two things. It communicates to the fans just how powerful Wanda really is if she's able to take out the Illuminati. But it also kind of suggests that the Earth 616 Avengers are a more challenging threat than the Illuminati are. Because why do you need the Book of Shanti to take out Thanos? Not saying Thanos isn't a formidable foe, because he is. And maybe he was even more formidable in that universe. Maybe he was even brighter. He was better about his plans because, oh my God, uh, Lightning McQueen. What's his? Why am I forgetting his name? The guy that was in Owen Wilson. Owen Wilson's character early on in Loki talked about Mad Titan and vampire variants, and people were suspecting that he was speaking about Thanos and non Morbius, but Blade. I can see how different iterations of Thanos were more of a threat, but I don't know if it took an all powerful book for all of you all powerful characters to take out Thanos. Well, then, what's the point of you guys banding together? You gave us Professor X from the 90s animated series, and all she had to do was twist his neck? Twist his neck? I mean, yeah, I mean, like,
My problem with it is we got Professor X again and he dies again, man. I'm like, how many times am I gonna get to see this guy die, man?
an
I don't want to see
infinite
him die
amount,
anymore.
Harold. It's the multiverse.
I'm like, God. You know what I will say though, and this is why it's so important to to have developed the characters in the Illuminati and made them part of the conclusion, is because that moment when Professor X was talking to Doctor Strange, like I felt that, bro. I was all like, that was the most Professor X thing you could say. It was the most Professor X thing because I know of his relationship to Magneto, you know, and that he believes that there's good in even the worst of us, you know, and that there's still a good part of us anywhere. And for him to believe that Doctor Strange, that he could trust him, like,
Yeah.
it was impactful for me. I really enjoyed watching that scene, and I was just like, "That's some good stuff right there."
Yeah, I
You
felt like
know?
the moments with the Illuminati went by too quick. Granted, it was expected. I expected them all to die, but
I didn't. I
I
really
did.
didn't.
I had
I was all
read
like, "Wow, she's
rumors.
killing all of them this quick. They suck."
I read rumors that like 12 to 18 characters were gonna die, so I wasn't really expecting them to stick around. But I think it was interesting. I think the real reason that the Illuminati was present is so that it will make sense to the fans when an Illuminati is set up later, because seeing a variant of Reed Richards feeds back into the predecessors or ancestors of Kang. We also maybe get to see the Fantastic Four fight Mole Man in the quantum realm. So maybe when these other multiversal movies come up, we won't be surprised when we see Captain Carter again, if we ever see her again, or if we see more Inhumans like Miss Marvel, or if we see Photon and a couple other characters. I really think their presence was meant to establish the idea that variants of these important characters exist in Earth 616 and they just need to be found.
I want to rewind a little bit. There was something that you had said that I just remembered when we were talking about the Illuminati and, you know, how powerful Wanda felt in comparison to them.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I think I just noticed right now, as you were saying that, is I guess one thing it does well is also leads you to assume the power level of a Doctor Strange that has knowledge of the Dark Code. Because I'm assuming with that amount of power, the Doctor Strange from the Illuminati's universe probably could have taken care of them too, but he chose to die.
Yeah, yeah, no, Earth 838's Doctor Strange.
Yeah. So it also leads us to assume now the power level of our Doctor Strange.
Now that he has the Eye of Agamotto and has been
Yeah.
touched by the Dark Code, yeah, yeah, I'm really interested in seeing what happens with him next, because now he's got untapped power. He was already a force to be reckoned with, and he was, according to the Sorcerer Supreme, destined to be the best of them. So now that he's got all these hacks unlocked and potentially has a relationship with Clea being developed, and he's seen the lengths and strength of characters like Wanda, he's now got to be prepared to fight off even bigger threats, multiversal threats. because Sharath came into his universe. Wanda, who was already from his universe, came in, and he actually couldn't do anything at the beginning. He had to depend on variants of himself.
I did have one. I had a couple, maybe hot takes.
Mm.
I felt that I saw that movie already, and I felt that Wanda's story in Doctor Strange was done better in Spider-Verse with Kingpin, because
Wanda's
it's the
story?
same story. He's the reason why he's tapping into the multiverse is because he's trying to find his wife and kid. And given it is animation, so I can see why it could, but I just feel I had seen that already. That was literally the motives of the Kingpin in the Spider-Verse movie.
Yeah, that's fair.
And another connection that I saw, there's a certain dark magic in the first Doctor Strange movie, and I kind of saw some parallels between Wanda and the Ancient One. Except the difference is I felt I was able to sympathize with the Ancient One.
Interesting.
Regardless of white casting, the character itself,
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt even that was done better in the first Doctor Strange movie. I feel Wanda's reaction at the end, that's why I feel it could have been resolved sooner. Even the resolve, I'm not saying I want a crazy climatic fighting ending, but it was really easy once you open the portal. And I guess the parts that I feel hurt the movie, and the reason why I say it's the Wanda parts, is because certain parts feel like it was written for a TV show versus written for a movie. Certain moments make me feel like that within the movie. And I don't know is because of how WandaVision was set up that it brings me back in that mindset. And for other people, it might not be that on the nose. Say for people who haven't seen WandaVision, it might not feel that on the nose. But just some of like the coincidence you bring up, I'm all like, it feels like the writing is for a TV show, to the extent that the movie kind of felt like episodic episodes in certain parts, and even tones were different within 30 to 40-minute segments.
Well, Sam Raimi was using characters that had been introduced in a story that he had to follow in that way, and I thought we were going to see more of Loki. I thought we were going to see a bit more of everything we'd seen from this phase in television so far. So if that's the audience that's coming into this movie, and you know that they're going to be coming into this movie to follow a character like Wanda, maybe you kind of have to keep a consistent tone.
Or maybe there is a problem with the tone. Movies and TV shows have a different filter, I must say. You can feel when you're watching a TV movie versus a Hollywood movie, they feel different when you're watching them. And there was just a lot of beats of this feels like a TV movie sometimes, you know? Certain things are just, even the Illuminati scene, it felt fake to me. I didn't feel connected to that setting. I didn't feel connected to any of those characters. It just felt like it just went by, like a sitcom goes by. We were there and we were gone. It just went by. I'm not connected to it.
I wonder if the director's cut is going to make us feel any more different, because the movie did go by, but I'm confident that there had to be more that he shot and then just reshot and was waiting. No,
and for me, there was also this 10 to 15-minute section in the movie, right in the middle, that was the best way I could describe it. It was just weird. And it started when Doctor Strange was being described how Wanda dreamwalks.
Yeah.
And they did this weird thing with the cameras and the heads moving and the music that was playing. I'm like, this isn't working. But right after that, wait. Right after that, she actually starts to dreamwalk, and you see her in the other Wanda.
Yeah.
And then they're in the kitchen, and I'm like, all right, she possessed her, all right. And then the kids are calling her, and even I'm like, shut up, bro, because the kids were getting annoying. I'm all like, You really want these kids? These are the kids you want? And then they go up and they start singing, bro. And I'm like, what
They're kids,
is
bro.
this? I Bro, okay. So they are, and this is another point where I mean, there the themes of the TV show did not try. It felt like the people who wrote the movie didn't watch the show. The kids seemed way more mature in the show than they did in the movie. They felt like they got de-aged in the movie.
Mm. Like they were
Like,
actually just kids that had grown up the natural way and maybe were
I have
younger.
no idea. All I know is that they seem more kid. They seemed they like they were behaving younger than their actual age. They compared to what we saw in WandaVision, they seem more mature already.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting that, I mean, we saw Wanda's kids in WandaVision mentally, emotionally, and physically mature faster than they should have. But it was interesting to me that they did not allow Wiccan and Speed in all of these other universes that they exist in to display any of their abilities, especially if Wanda had her abilities in all of those universes. I thought it was really
Yeah,
interesting. And Vision was in none of them as a father.
none of them, and that's what I'm saying. Did the writers watch the show? Like, as much as I don't like the show, I'm all like, they're to tell a consistent story. You need to continue on what you left off in that project. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just it was off putting, and I'm all like, I hate that I'm judging that part because I wish none of it was even in the movie. That's what's even worse for me as a fan. I'm all like, okay, now that you're making me deal with these parts, there's some inconsistencies, and you're making me like these parts even less. The parts that I didn't even want to be part of the movie. I'd rather have explored America Chavez actually throughout the movie, learning to try to control her abilities. Not once did she attempt to even practice. Like maybe they got a couple minutes to like, well, let me
Like punch the
tap
wall
into
and
your
it
head or
happened
something. Like
accidentally.
let me do something to try to help you, before the ending, already having your powers figured out, and all of a sudden you could take Wanda exactly to the same universe you just left her. I'm all like, dang, America Chavez, you sacrificed traumatizing those kids for life so Wanda could learn a lesson. But I'm all like, those kids are gonna be scarred for life.
Yeah,
The way they were looking at her.
the wording, she muttered the words so silently and it went by so quickly in the theater, but did the woman that we thought was zombie Wanda, who ended up just being possessed Wanda, walk up to Scarlet Witch, hold her cheek, and say, "At least you know they'll live"? Is that what she said to her before Wanda got pushed out?
I'm not sure because I even leaned over to my right to ask, and I was all like, "Did you hear what it said?" And they were like, "Nah." I'm all like, "All right, cool."
I think that's what she said. I think she said, "At least you know they'll live, or at least here they'll live, or at least you'll know that they're alive," because in her universe they're not.
I feel that this movie was missing a fighting scene at the end. And yes, we got Zombie Strange, but if I'm gonna be honest, when Zombie Strange started talking to America Chavez, everybody started laughing at him. Like it wasn't even a good moment.
Yeah, it was cheesy.
But above that, after the first Doctor Strange didn't give us like the most climatic fighting ending because it was done through dialogue between him and Dormammu, I needed something more for the second one. And this movie did give us a Doctor Strange versus Doctor Strange fight, but it was not at all what I was expecting out of a Doctor Strange fight.
Yeah,
I'm
neither
all
was
like,
I.
look, hear me out. Although I like the theme, I'm a music guy and I love the theme,
So is
and it
he.
was really cool to be done. And it was a nice, like collaborating it with the music that was actually playing. It was done great. The visuals were great, but I didn't need Fantasia out of a Doctor Strange fight. I needed to watch Doctor Strange get down with Doctor Strange, you know?
I thought it was interesting that they did it because in movie one, they showed just how big he was on music while performing surgery or while doing something surgical. And I thought it was a nice callback to his character, but I didn't expect that to be the scale of his fight. I thought that it would have been a larger combat scene and that we would have seen him exercise a bit more of his abilities, but they gave us what they gave us. I think it was a PG teen Disney.
It was Disney.
Yeah,
Bro, it was Fantasia. If you've ever seen Fantasia, that was Fantasia. That was Mickey Mouse being a wizard and playing with music.
I haven't seen Fantasia, but I know the scene that you're referencing where he has a large blue hat on and he's got the red robe or whatever. And he's
Yeah, exactly. That's what it felt like. I very much felt like I was at Disneyland within that fight scene, and it pulled me out a little bit.
mm,
Especially considering the dimension where this is the Dark Doctor Strange, and bro. I'm sorry, there was a better Doctor Strange story told in that single What If episode
yeah, yeah,
than
yeah.
in this movie.
That was the best Had they actually done a live action version of that What If episode, I don't think fans would have complained. And had we
I
still
don't
seen
think
the
so
Illuminati and
either.
anything, yeah.
It
N-
was a better Doctor Strange story, bro. And even if
No,
we fought
they're
that
both
version of
good.
Doctor
They're both
Strange, he
good
would have
Doctor
had
Strange
all those people
stories.
inside of him, you know?
I feel like they're both good Doctor Strange stories, but the What If episode, the tone is better. The way that they use him is better. The way that they make him the villain and he's his undoing. It's more appropriate storytelling for the character, given all
For
that
the
we've seen him.
character. And that's all I wanted out of a Doctor Strange movie. And that's the reason why I feel the WandaVision stuff gets in the way. Because that's the type of stuff I want from a Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah,
You know,
that
the
was
whole
actually my favorite
Christine and Doctor
episode.
Strange, I felt that was a side story that within the Doctor Strange movie should have been explored more, you know?
Yeah,
Like, because that's his story, you know?
I thought
That's the
Sinister
story I
Strange was
want to
gonna play
follow.
on that episode a bit more, and I thought that they were, yeah, they could have done a lot more. They could have done a lot more, but all in all, still a good movie. It's
Still a good
just,
movie. Still a good movie. Okay, so I need to ask you this last question.
yeah,
No Way Home or Doctor Strange 2?
No Way Home. But to be fair, even though I love No Way Home, I also think No Way Home could have given us a bit more. I would have loved
I
to
agree.
see
I
Toby's
agree.
world, Andrew's world post them being sent home. I would have, uh, that No Way Home did well, as did Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But for what was promised, another story could have been told. They could have also done Into the Spider Verse live action, and they did it. It was their live action version of Into the Spider Verse, but scale could have been better.
Yeah.
But as a fan, I'm
Okay.
happy.
I did say last one, but I got one more just because they don't have such a library to compare, but we're just gonna go with recency. The Batman or Doctor Strange 2? I know they're different type of movies, but just the Batman or Doctor Strange 2?
The Batman, because of the tone of his character development story.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, because
I
I
think
still
the
think,
villain too helps the Batman.
hmm. Yeah, I feel like they explored his humanity, they explored his loss, they showed a good villain, they showed a fresh take of the character, and they did all of that without me feeling like the movie dragged on or like I was losing bits and pieces of it. I was excited to see the details. And walking out of this movie, I felt like the tone of it seemed kind of like Spider-Man Homecoming to me. And I think I was expecting a mix of Into the Spider-Verse and Infinity War and the last 40 minutes of Endgame. But to be fair, that none of those things are Doctor Strange. None of the examples I gave are Doctor Strange, so that's me projecting my expectations onto it. And for what they gave me, I still think they gave me a Doctor Strange story, but it doesn't stack up to what they've proved they can do with Doctor Strange, given what we've seen in What If. And I hope that Doctor Strange 3, especially if Sam Raimi is directing it, really delivers on the last half of that. I don't know. I feel like there's a few more hot takes to explore. There's a lot of breakdowns to look at, but all in all, fans, seems like we've got a tier two movie here. That's it's good. It's okay. It's probably just not what you made it up to be in your mind. And depending on what type of fan you are, I think you're definitely going to enjoy this movie. And if you've been enjoying WandaVision and all of the material that's been out as of late, I don't think you're going to have a problem with it at all. Unless you're not looking forward to seeing your favorite characters die.
Or Evil Wanda. If you're a fan of Wanda and you're not into Evil Wanda, you might not enjoy this.
But then maybe you're not really a fan of Wanda at all because that's what we were expecting going into the MCU in general. So
Yeah.
that's our, I guess, not so quick review. But we're definitely gonna have more to share on this. In the meantime, it's Heroes Harold, Heroes Hassan. Happy spectating.